Hey, Rod from East Coast Lumberjack, and just have you down in the basement in my shop. Actually, the first shop that I had, I just partitioned off a couple of walls down here to keep the dust down in the rest of the house, and started monkeying around in my basement. I'm doing this video at my young fellow's advice. He said, "Dad, turn your phone sideways so people on their laptops and home computers can actually watch this." So I've done that. Thanks a lot, buddy, for the advice. I'm just a rookie. So anyways, this is probably the heartbeat of my shop here at East Coast Lumberjack. It's a King bandsaw. Bought it back in the early 90s. I like this because it has bearings that actually guide the blade. I've had to replace the electric motor in this once. It's probably made about 6,000 axe handles now. Good little rig, quite reliable. As we spin around the shop here, we'll see Ron Turcott, my buddy from up in St. Leonard, New Brunswick. He's actually the guy that rode Secretariat to the Triple Crown back in the day. I have him on my wall. Of course, my college graduation picture. Us old timers all up there. Anyways, these handles here, these are ones that are good on this side of the doorway. I've also got some here that actually I use to show people what we can do. There's a FlexiWave products in town. He can actually do engraving on the handles. I've made a bunch out of just playing around. This one here is at a horn beam, and that's an oak handle there. That's a maple handle and a elm handle. Don't usually make many of those. I usually stick mostly with ash and hickory. And then of course over here, these are the rejects. These are ones that wind up surprising you. You run something through the bandsaw and all of a sudden this comes out and you realize so much for a #1 handle. So if it doesn't meet the grade, it goes on this side, and I'll sometimes part with those if some axe collectors want something cheap to put in a handle or whatever. I'll sell them by the dozen, so just to get rid of them. But what I wanted to show you today, I was out to visit my good buddy Wayne Moore, and he's an axe collector, lives out on the Nevers Road outside of Fredericton. And he had this beauty. We were looking at a lot of his. He's got quite a collection of axes, and he had this one here. It's an old fire axe, but the handle in it was gorgeous. It's I would call this a nice vintage handle. It's nice and sleek and thin, and it's got this beautiful palm swell. It just fits your hand unbelievably nice. So I was raving about that a bit. He said, "Take it with you," he said, and make one. So I'm making a pattern for it now. This is going to be called the Moore Vintage. Okay, so if you want a nice vintage axe handle for a vintage axe, this will be the baby. So I'm drawing my pattern out here on a piece of hardwood flooring, and I usually use hardwood flooring because #1, I got a bit of it kicking around, but #2, it's got these lines on the back, and you can make sure that your handle's running nice and straight and true with your lines based on those. So that's a cruiser handle that I've done with it, and a lot of my handles I actually do with that, unless I have the original. So this one here's an original I got from Mitch. It's a racing axe handle from Australia. I've got a few other ones like that up there, one from Ed Fawcett and Pulaski handles. That's the American felling axe pattern. So all my patterns are on this end. This is a Basque from their chopping axes in Spain. And of course, one of my favorite ones here on the bench is this one here, the Hetherington handle. So this is the pattern. This is the guy that taught me how to make an axe handle in the first place. That's Bob there. So he was a guy that used to let me stand and rummage around in his shop forever to make handles. So that's just about it for what I'm doing here today. I wanted to just give a shout out to Wayne for letting me borrow this beautiful vintage handle. And once I cut that out and trim it up a little bit, that'll be the newest pattern to go on the wall for at East Coast Lumberjack. So if you're after a nice vintage axe handle, that's the baby. It's called the Moore Vintage. Cumberland out.